Oh, hi. This is the first of a series of videos related to a grant about being an artist with aphantasia. My name is Dawn. I'm an artist, a former art teacher, and I have aphantasia. Um, I am reading from a script, mostly because I want to make sure that I cover and include everything that I want to talk about today. Um, so, what I'd kind of like to start out with is I want to let you know I will be painting or creating during some of these, videos, but it's not meant to be a how to paint or, what's the best paper or how to wash your brushes or whatever. Um, and that being said, if people have questions, I will certainly try to answer those in relationship to the how to kind of a thing. But there's plenty of videos out there on that, and those people are great. I learn a lot of stuff sometimes from them, but I don't need to add to that noise. Um, so this is definitely more of an exploration on my process of how I create because I have aphantasia, and we'll get to that there. So I hope you do learn something. Um, and more importantly, it's probably about your participation with this part of the grant. So I'll get to that here a little bit. I do want to establish I do have a skill set in art. I worked first of all for about 25 years in food service and dabbled a little bit here in art. And in high school, I took, all the art classes I could and stuff. And then later, I went to college and I ended up being an art teacher, which I did for 24 years. And now, since I've left that, I am a full time artist and co-own a gallery where I sell some of my work as well. So part of it, why I'm creating these videos, is not only for the grant and to create an awareness, but kind of share that and document that process of how I paint or create, and explore that condition of my brain that does not allow me to mentally visualize. So the direct goals for my grant is to create a new body of work related to that process, and looking at the long range goals for like exhibition purposes. I've decided on three themes at this moment. One is apparitions, one is memories, and one is just basic tools, everyday household tools. So, and it'll make more sense later as we go along with this. So, the first word in that theme, the apparition, is something that appears out of nowhere, kind of like ghosts and those kind of things. But I'm applying that word to some abstract works, which it's really never been a part of my wheelhouse, but, and I was never really successful with it. And I'll kind of talk about that probably in the next session after this one. So, the memories are based on my personal experiences, or places I've lived, traveled to, and then the tools will definitely be just something that I can focus on, um, because I don't have the mental images, and it's something that's common to all of us. Okay, so like I said, those things might change and evolve over time, but that's my starting point for this. So the second goal, and probably more importantly, is to create an awareness of aphantasia. And particularly, I'd like to see people in education and fields of medicine, maybe like therapy, where visualization is part of that therapy process for people to recover or heal. And in education, there's kind of a Ooh, I've lost track of my thought there. It's not a disability per se. It's more of a condition, and but the awareness of it, I think, for educators would be really important because some kids are just not going to be able to connect to what the teacher is asking of them. And then lastly is to create an online community, which is you guys, And I'm going to implement an interactive component to it that I hope you participate in. So at this point, it's my hope that people who do not have aphantasia can sort of understand what it's like, although that's probably pretty impossible. And then maybe those that do have it maybe help unlock kind of this phenomenon that happens with us. So I'm hoping to set up a schedule, not only for myself, but for people who want to participate or just watch, the videos. Um, and so I think you can subscribe. I don't know how that gives you notifications, but that being said, I'm sure you guys are smart enough to figure that out. So I'm guessing maybe at the beginning here, it'll be 1 to 2 videos a week. And I believe I can schedule those on ahead of time, so you would know when I would be doing it. I'm also hoping to maybe be flexible in the schedule so that those who are kind of in a 9 to 5 type job per se would maybe be able to join in. So, maybe it's on a weekend, like today, it's a Sunday afternoon. Um, and yeah, go from there. So, and these are not going to be polished videos. I have experience editing videos, but that's not my goal here. So they'll be probably pretty raw, and they'll probably maybe at times be disconnected. If you've ever heard that saying of can't walk and chew gum at the same time. Well, a lot of times when I'm doing a demo, or if I was working on this painting here, um, and I'm talking, I will all of a sudden have this large pause right in the middle of the sentence because a thought will fire off in my brain, and it seems like I kind of shift over there and lose track of what I was saying, and people are waiting for me to finish my sentence. But anyway, so if that happens, you know why. So let's see. The particulars, now that I've got that out of the way of why I'm doing these videos, a little bit more about my story and how I found out I have aphantasia. And so just kind of starting with the definition here, it's so things make sense, and you don't have to go look it up. Aphantasia is the inability to visualize, um, in your brain, so to speak, otherwise known as image-free thinking. So here's an example. So if I ask you to think of a dog, um, does the image of a dog come to mind? What color is that dog? What's that dog doing? So for most people, it's going to be, they're going to, get that picture in their mind's eye. For others, it might be dim or vague or kind of incomplete picture, and it takes time and effort. Some can picture a dog with exceptional, clarity. I mean, it is vivid. They can, see it moving. Maybe it's almost like running across the field, almost like a little movie. Some can even see it like projected out in front of them, almost like a hologram kind of thing. So it appears there's, kind of a spectrum or quite a range on the abilities of being able to do image thinking. But people like me with aphantasia, we can't create a mental image at all. So it's like if I shut my eyes right now, it's kind of black, so to speak. There's no familiar objects that, I can pull up. There's no memories, no images of familiar faces. So we lack that picture it system completely. So how I found out about it is several years ago, I was reading and I came across an article in the New York Times from 2015, although it wasn't that far back when I read it. And it was called Picture This, Some Just Can't, with the subtitle of, or for those who have aphantasia and just need the connection to navigate their world. And I kind of briefly, looked at this and sort of kind of, put it out of, it really didn't take much heart into it. But then Um, it wasn't until 2020 that another article in the Times came up, and it was called Living with Aphantasia: The Inability to Make Mental Images. And this was subtitled When the Mind's Eye Cannot See, Counting Sheep or Navigating Streets with a Mental Map Can Be Impossible. Okay. So that's when I was like starting to question things. And that summer, my family, some of my family had came up and were visiting, and we were sitting around on the porch, enjoying a few beverages and stuff. And I had just read the second article, and then when I asked them if they could see images, because honestly, I was like, this is crazy. People can't see things in their head. And, and then they acknowledged that they could. And I'm like, really? I mean, and I'm, I'm like, this is crazy. And they finally convinced me, yes, they really could. And I'm like, and it's pretty shocking. And it took me a really long time to wrap my head around that fact that I wasn't able to do that. So, I mean, like I said, it's shocking and it's emotional, and you really begin to question things, and you start asking more questions. But at the same time, it kind of validates some of the things that it's like, well, why can't I remember this? Or why can't I do this? A certain thing that happened on a certain date. One of the things that for some reason came to me was like, noticing if men would shave their mustache or beard off, and it was like, no, I didn't notice. And I remember a couple times, some friends of mine that I was close with were kind of insulted that I didn't remember. And anyway, um, so where was I at? Okay. So anyway, it gave me a reason at least, or a validation of why some of these things were happening. So then you kind of fast forward to March of 2024, and I ran into an acquaintance of mine, now a friend, at a local art center. She was there to see a show, and she had shared with me that she had heard my interview that I did with Andrew Dezingle uh, on a local radio station. And her words, she came up to me and she goes, "I heard your interview," and she said, "You have seismically changed my life." And I'm looking at her going, what could I have possibly have said to have done that? I mean, that's a pretty big statement. And then she told me that when I talked about having aphantasia, she realized that she too probably had it. And so she started looking up things and then realized that she did have it. And she goes, it was like it just took off the biggest weight off my shoulders because I kind of was thinking I'm going a little crazy. So anyway, we there was a lot of hugs and tears because I had never met anybody with aphantasia. And then, in fact, later then in the summer, I was checking out some yard sales with family again, and they saw a dresser that they would like, and so they uh, decided to walk back to get the car, so that we could load it. Well, actually, we had the car with us, but long story. Anyway, so they left, and I stayed behind, and I'm talking to these people. Turns out they're artists. We got to talking about having aphantasia and stuff like this. And they're like, how can you be an artist and have aphantasia? Or have this, how can you be an artist without being able to see things in your mind? And so anyway, they were pretty flabbergasted with that fact. And then there was another woman there, and she was looking at some rugs, and she goes, I hate to butt in here, and I shouldn't be eavesdropping, but I'm an artist too, and I have aphantasia. And it was like just this mind-blowing moment, that two people in one space, both artists, were there. And so anyway, um, so it was kind of after Julie's comment and some of these conversations that ensued, and somewhere in the gallery, where people are just like, well, how can she be an artist? I mean, and so I really started picking up too on phrases that were being said in movies, like, well, in my mind's eye, and the conventions of how movies will go back in time, and they'll use somebody like thinking, and they think back in this little movie. I always just thought that was a convention of the movie, but they're actually using it as a memory tool. So anyway, and then I was watching that goofy movie called Paint with Luke Wilson, and he is playing a character that's kind of like a Bob Ross character. And and he's always trying to get his work into this museum, but of course he's painting these very formulaic little landscapes and stuff, the happy little trees kind of thing. And anyway, he's always trying to get into this museum, and they never think, he's good enough. And so near the end of the movie, he's talking to the curator, and the curator finally says to him, he says, um, "What's that one image tucked in your brain that makes your heart ache and your soul feel like it's going to burst? Go paint that." So that's when, with all of those things kind of building up to it, it was like, I felt like really strongly about that there needs to be an awareness of aphantasia. There's a thing that's connected a lot of times with aphantasia called SDAM, which is severe deficiency of autobiographical memory, meaning people that can't visualize mentally often can't remember events and stuff like this. And it's also connected with comprehension and having a low comprehension. And always a challenge for me, always a challenge for me. And so I think that's where, like, educators, if they know this, there isn't any cures or fixes. They haven't unlocked everything on this, for sure, because I think the research is just starting to really be hard and heavy on this. In fact, I read an article just the other day where they are pretty sure that people who have aphantasia, it's all there, but something in the translation just doesn't get it to pull up the image in their brain. It's like warped or stretched, as they described it, like something just quite doesn't finish, the process of it. So in the ironic part of all of this, so then I decided to write the grant for this, and to see if there's a way that I can kind of unlock, or at least help determine how I process my art and skill set, because some of it is imaginary. It's just I can't put it up here. So it might be impossible, but we're going to explore it. So the ironic part of all of this, is, like I said, I taught art to high school and middle school students for 24 years, and I used those phrases like, you know, you know, picture this, picture in your head, whatever, I would say those little terms all the time, but for me, they weren't literal. They were, metaphors of a concept. Um, so anyway, so like I said, maybe there's a kid in the room who, has that aphantasia, and maybe there's some tricks or ways to modify things, on the ends of teachers to be able to help that student to process whatever they need to learn. Because it's not just art, that it affects. It's going to be anything where you have a memory recall. It made me think about kids, in spelling bees or something where like I can spell pretty good, but if it's oh, nice, thanks, whoever that was. And, so, like a spelling bee or something, think about the kid who's got the really clear image. They can just spiel that word right off, where another kid is going to have to stop and think about it, for a while. Anyway, um, so let's see, like I said, no, I already covered that. And one of the things I think is probably the biggest things when people first find out that they have this is it's pretty emotional, that you feel like you're, how do you describe it? You don't fit in, and it's like, how many things does this affect, of who I am because I can't do this, Um, for those of us who are a little bit older, we didn't know any different, so it doesn't. I think it's like, I think we can get along with it. It's a little easier to accept, because it's like, oh, well, it doesn't mean it doesn't take, some, uh, I'm not sure where I'm trying to go with that thought. It doesn't mean we don't feel like we're missing out. Sometimes there's some really good things, like people who have witnessed very traumatic things, and they can't unsee it, so to speak. Well, we don't have that, so there is that advantage. It's but at the same time, we can't see faces of people who are now gone, or that kind of thing, or maybe remember, places we've been, or just, in general memories. I will say that if I see photographs of places or things I was a part of, then it's kind of, I shouldn't say all there, but a lot of it's there. So anyway, and if you're a person just finding out about this right now, I would recommend going over to a website called Aphantasia Network, or aphantasia.com. If you search that, you should be able to find it. And that's spelled Aphantasia, aphantasia. I think some people pronounce it a little bit differently, but not really sure. I was hoping to read a little thing about what a person wrote in one of the online groups I'm on. There's two that I'm a part of on Facebook. One is just a general aphantasia, and then one is for artists with aphantasia. But I haven't gotten permission to share that. If I do get permission, I will probably do that and share that with you. So you kind of have my basic story and why I'm doing this. And the final part here, I do have, there's one in the background. If I get out of the way, maybe you can, it's still a little blurry. Anyway, this one is actually upside down. I'll kind of, and the reason it's upside down is because where it's a little bit brown here is I am currently painting that, and I'm not tall enough to reach the top of the painting comfortably without messing it up horribly. Oops, let's see. Let's go back here. And so, like I said, I might not have any grand insights at the end of this here to share, but it's a process of exploration, and I hope that those of you who are following along will join in on that. The next video, I'll probably be setting up two paintings, one an apparition, and that's kind of when this is done, there's kind of an image there for this playlist, and that's one of my apparitions that I've done. And also, if you have a suggestion for a common tool, whether it's, that's around the house, whether it's something that you would use in the garage, the basement, or maybe even the kitchen, just a common tool, throw that in the comments. I think you might have to be a subscriber to comment, maybe not. Anyway, and I guess, yeah, I think that's about it for today. I just wanted to do that introduction video. And so until next time, we'll sign up.